Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's a big day. This is one of the few times in my life that I've actually waited a long time for something to come on the market. This is, I don't normally do videos about PCs and laptops and whatnot, but this one is something I've been waiting for a little while. It's an XPS 13 2-in-1 2019, and it's I think it's 7390 is the model number, and it's fully loaded. It's a 32 gig of RAM, and it's a 10th generation i7 1065 G7 processor, a 13.4 inch display, and a 1TB PCIe NVMe SSD. So I also got a couple of other little bits and pieces which we'll look at later. One of them's the active pen, or whatever it's called in Dell terms, the stylus-y thing. It's a bit old-fashioned word, that is. And the other bit, it's a soft case. I don't like these really bulky cases. I like quite thin, slimline cases, but also I don't like them just to take up too much room. I quite like the old neoprene type ones, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to turn out. But I should mention that, as far as I understand it, the pen and certainly the case and probably the pen, they don't come with the unit. You have to buy them separately, or you add them onto your bill. So this is really what you've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. This is how it came. It was delivered today, and there's nothing really much to say other than it was just in this box. There was nothing else around it. That was how it came. Probably going to make a mess of this. I mean, unboxings are normally a bit not very exciting, aren't they? But let's see how we get on with this. Come on, are you going to do it? Oh, I'm going to have to. Is she going to come? Or am I going to stab myself? Probably going to stab myself. There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I guess that's not the laptop, that's a box with it in. So, and then there's something else inside here. Box of gubbins, which I'm assuming is just going to be the power supply. Let's have a little quick look in here. And there's a lead. Oh, you get a USB-C to USB-A adapter, which is nice. And oh, this is quite a dainty little. Wow, these things get smaller and smaller. A USB-C adapter. This is. Let me have a look in the. It's a 45 watt adapter. Wow, that's pretty small. So I believe this is a 45 watt. It is. This is the old 45 watt adapter which came with the old 9365 version of the 2-in-1, and this is the new 45 watt adapter. Wow. And I'm going to show you what the old, I think it was a 35 watt adapter used to look like, which came with some of the old, I think they were the XPS 12s from about 3 years ago. I can't see how many watts this is. This is a 35 watt. So now this is the 35 watt from the old XPS 12. This is now the 45 watt, which has just come with this. So nice and tiny. Very impressed with that. One of the pains is having to carry around a power supply. So that's all good. What we really come for, the money shot of all of this. It's here. You meant to pull this. Oh, no, lift that up. Oh, look at that. Cool. You meant to lift it up, yeah, lift it up like that. Okay, wow. I'm not quite sure what's in here. Is this just paperwork? Yeah, okay. Leave that for a rainy day. Okay, I don't think there's anything else in here. Oh, okay. So a bit of a Ponzi box, very nice, but whatever. No, actually, oh no, there we go. Is this actually magnetic here? It is. Oh man, someone spent some money. Right, so that's interesting. I wasn't actually expecting it to be this colour. I was expecting it to be black. So here's this is an old. Oh, that's interesting. Slightly narrower than the old XPS. This is the old 9365 that I've got here. Yeah, sorry about that. Put Dell Apple logo on there. In joke, I suppose. Now, the really interesting thing is, let's have a look. So it's very, very slightly, probably about, what's that? It's about 7 or 8 millimeters narrower, but it's a bit stubbier. So let's have a look, see if we can. And it's about what? Oh, let's see if we can get it right on the edge there. So we're probably not comparing like we like, are we? Let's compare it from up there. It's about 1 centimetre in depth, so about 7 millimeters narrower in this dimension, and it's about 1 centimetre longer in this dimension. So guess what? This is the bit that I don't. That's better. Get the wife knocking on the door now. Now let's have a look at this. Oh, Bezel City. Nice. Should we plug her in? Well, that's a good start, isn't it? Now, where's the on switch? Oh, hang on, what's this here? Is that on? Oh, it is! Oh, found the on switch. It's a good start, isn't it? I suspect, has this got a fingerprint reader in it or something? It looks a little bit wonky, actually. And of course, we've got the nice Windows delay now. You can see the bezels on here, just gorgeous. So against the 9365 here, see the top bezels ever so slightly large because it's got the little camera in here, and then okay, you see the bezel on this 9365 is actually quite a bit on the bottom. It is about 2.5 centimeters from there. Okay, let's do it from the base of there. 2.5. It's about 1.4 centimeters. So they've managed to lose a centimeter. So I'm assuming I can't have English United Kingdom, so we'll go for that.
Hi there, I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little sign in here.
Well, this is going to be really tedious, isn't it? So I'm not sure you want to see all this. Okay, so there's just one small problem I had when I got as far as went through all of the nonsense when we were setting everything up, and that was just that it didn't activate properly. Anyway, I went and did the there's a troubleshooter that you can use as part of the activation, ran that, and miraculously it just all activated. But that was the only small thing about the setup that I have. And what we'll do here is the thing that everybody loves is the Cinebench R15. So on the right we've got the new unit, which is the i7 1065G7, the new Ice Lake unit, and the 10nm Intel laptop platform. This is the old i7. I think it's is it 7Y75 Yes, it is i77Y75. So this is a 2-core 4-thread, and this is 4-core 8-thread. And this is the old 9365 Dell 2-in-1. This is the 7390 XPS 13 2-in-1. Bit of a mouthful of that, isn't it? So let's set these running. So this is a clean run, there's nothing else around the machines. I've removed them from the network, disabled the antivirus as well. I've let this machine sort of do a bunch of its sort of initial booting up stuff that it does when you do a fresh or an OEM setup. So hopefully there's not too much going on in the background, but this is looking interesting. This is just so much. Wow. That is impressive. So let's see, I think we must be talking well over 500 for this. 792. Wow, not bad. Now what I should say is that this old 9365 was fanless. It had a 5 watts or so, 4.5 watt I think it was, TDP processor, whereas this one I think is a 15 watt TDP processor. So just be aware of that, because obviously it's almost a bit like comparing apples and oranges. Well, this is still going, so let's see what we get in the end from this. I'll just show you if I run some other bits and pieces on here while that other one's going. This is the CPU's application. There we go, so you can see what the processor is there. I'll just zoom in a bit. Oh, that's probably going to have to focus that a bit. Thing is, I don't want to get that completely out of shot, but we really want to see what's going on here. Okay, so it's 1065. Memory is 32 gigabytes, as you can see just here. So it's not a bad old setup, this one. So that's your CPUs. I'm going to run a CrystalMark as well. So let's run that as well. We'll just do I'll run them all. There we go. While this other one is, this old smoker is still running. Well, the read speed's not great, is it? That's not exactly stupendously good. I can't believe this thing's still running. Just, oh dear. So we get 206 on here and 792 on here. Wow. What can I say? That is pretty impressive. So I should add, I'm not going to do, well, I guess I can do a little test of the CrystalMark on here. Although I don't think this is the original disk. I think it might be a SATA disk in here, not a PCIe, because I think it's got a 2 gig SATA that I put in here. So yeah, one thing about this unit is that the SSD and the RAM, none of it, it's all soldered in, which is a right raw pain in the backside. In this old unit, well, the RAM was soldered in. This is a 16 gigabyte unit. Yeah, this is a SATA drive in here. The problem with that is that obviously you can't do an upgrade of RAM, but 32 gig, the reason why I went for this one was that I do quite a lot of stuff on VMware, and as soon as you put a few virtual machines on here, if you're just configuring up some sort of enterprise architecture or something which might have half a dozen or 8 or so virtual machines, and you're trying to set up a distributed system and model it, etc., that's why you need this kind of setup. 32 gig. On here it's limited to 16 gig, and it did become a bit of a limitation, and so although the CPU is also a limitation on here, my other machine I did have I still have it, a MacBook Pro from 2012, was until very recently was it's an awesome machine, still going very strong, and it was one of the Retina jobs, and it's really only been in the last sort of year or so that I've looked on for other things. I do have a ZBook 6-core, which is really meaty with 64 gig of RAM, which but it's a bit heavy, so I wanted something that was a bit lighter and it got some meat. So the additional cores on here, together with the 32 gig of RAM, really is going to make it worthwhile for doing VMware stuff. So anyway, these are sort of getting close to finishing now, I guess. Anyway, probably no point in waiting for this old 9365, but we'll hang on for this thing to finish. So yeah, about the soldered in SSD. Well, that for me is the biggest downside of this machine. The SSD in here is, you can take it out, it's an M.2. and it'll take either a SATA M.2 or the PCIe NVMe type drives. The problem with the soldered in, it's multifaceted. Okay, you can't upgrade it, that's one thing. Alright, okay, fair enough. Let's accept that, you know, a 1 terabyte, which is what this has got in it, is going to just about do you for the next sort of couple of years or so. That's fair enough. Okay, we can live with that just about. The biggest problem is that if you have a fault, a hardware fault on the machine, and it's soldered into the logic board, what are you going to do? You've got two problems. The two problems is that you're going to have to ship the machine off, or the motherboard or whatever it is, off to a third party. You've got no means necessarily of being able to erase that hard drive, because it may be something else. It might even have a problem which has got nothing to do with the hard drive, which has failed on its machine. A very common failure mode, I'm hoping this is fixed on more recent machines, of the XPS range that I've found on that use the USB-C, is the actual USB-C receptacles. These regularly go, and it could be an electrical connection that fails on it. For example, could be to do with the Thunderbolt is probably the first thing to go. I've had a failure on a board, which I think I've got. Probably won't be able to find it now, will I? There it is. I've got a failure on a board here, which is from an old XPS 12, and both of these USB-C receptacles have gone, and it's actually giving them. It's just amazing that they could do that, because the pitch on these pins is tiny. I think is it 0.5 millimeter? Might be less actually. But also it's not just these ones you can see. You might just be able to see visibly here. Maybe not. Probably not actually. To be on 4K or whatever to be able to do that. Let's see if we can autofocus it. Maybe not. Anyway, but also there's some pins that are hidden underneath the bits. So to fix these, you have to lift them off and replace them. I actually haven't managed to find replacement USB receptacles for these that have got the right land patterns and everything. So unfortunately, I've had to replace the board. The only good thing that I would say about Dell is that it's usually fairly easy to get hold of replacement motherboards, unlike Apple. So the reason I'm telling you this is that I have had a problem with an Apple MacBook, one of the Cyclops units, which has got a single USB-C on here. It's very nice, very light, but when that USB-C goes, it's all over. Now, the good thing about the Apple MacBook is that there's just a small cable. It's like a little cable which goes to the tiny little motherboard, and you can just get a replacement cable. So if it's a physical problem, you can just get the little lead change, which is about $100. But if it's a motherboard scenario, it's $600, and it's got your SSD on it, so it's all over. That's the bit that I don't like, is that if you're going to have to ship your machine off, you need to erase the whole of your SSD before it goes off. So there you go, that's all I'll say about that. Anyway, there we go, that's a quick unboxing for you. I think it's looking pretty good, and hopefully, I'm sorry I go on a little bit, but hopefully you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching.